Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Joined here today by Ruby, Cherie. Ruby, thank you so much for being here. Let people know who you are and what it is that you do.
One thing that I am most passionate about is I want to stop the intergenerational spread of the hyperfixation that women have on their bodies. And it's not that I feel like there's been two camps. There's the camp of the complete anti-dieting, body positivity that's been taken way too far. But then there's the diet culture, which is going in all the wrong directions. And it's almost like they can't coexist. So then when messages of like, love your body, stop focusing on dieting, stop focusing on fat loss come up, it's almost like a trigger to so many women because it's like, but I have vanity goals. You can want to lose weight. You can want to lose fat. You can want to change your body, but it's not going to come from negatively beating yourself up all the time, berating yourself, picking your bodies apart, because that just spreads down generations and you're never going to get to a place where you love your life. You feel excited to show up to the things that you do every day if you're not, number one, feeling good, and number two, shaming yourself in the process. My most used phrase at the moment is stop shooting yourself with a second arrow. It's like, build a strong body, focus on becoming your best version of you, and everything else will come with that. The habits flow with that. It's not going to come from chasing every single means of trying to manipulate your body, because we all already know that hasn't worked in the past before.
You are very obviously extremely passionate about this. Why is that?
I guess it kind of spread to me from my own mother as well. And I did have my own eating disorder as well, and that actually lasted even into university. So it was a good 10 years, and it kind of robbed me of my life there as well. And those things don't just lay dormant. Like, the mindset kind of lingers for a really long time, and you don't realize when it's like nipping at you until you really break free from it. And I see it so often with the women that I coach and the way that they talk on their bodies. It's like they try to hide it from their kids, but your kids are seeing how you act. It's something that you can stop just by realizing that you have that control. Move yourself into the positive direction by finding something you can chase versus running away from. Whereas for me, it was like, I didn't want to keep feeling the way that I did. I didn't like the energy that I had. So I wanted more from my life. And you can't have a bigger life if you keep spinning around the same cycles. So I guess that's pretty much why I'm passionate about it, because I lived that experience as well. And it's not a fun place to be, where you're always picking yourself apart and feeling so down about yourself, because then you're not able to just confidently show yourself, like confidently go out there. Whereas now it's like I have the confidence to just say yes, say no, speak to people the way that I want to speak to people without wanting to hide away from photos or hide away from any situation possible, because I don't feel like I'm good enough or worthy enough, this enough. But that's what fitness brings you. That's what chasing your strongest self brings you. Once you go into the gym, well fueled for the first time in your life, everything changes. You realize how much stronger you can be in that session. You start falling in love with chasing PRs. And as soon as you start seeing the slightest bit of muscle definition or the like lifting a weight you never thought that you could lift, everything just changes, because you have this new passion in the gym versus when you're showing up, probably not eating anything for half the day, low on carbs, trying to restrict yourself with everything that you eat. It's like that is a completely different experience inside of the gym.
The most powerful thing I think that I'm hearing from you there is actually what I'm not hearing. And that's you saying that, like, once I hit this number on the scale, once I fit into X size jeans, once I fit into these like numerical, call it superficial things, which are valid and like they're fine and all good in themselves, but they're like the least powerful of the transformations that happen from the gym and from fitness. It's saying yes to things that you want to, saying no to things, like just showing up in your life. Like that is the most powerful thing that probably the most people actually want. We just kind of, and maybe this is part of the problem as I'm actually saying this and thinking through it, is that we get stuck at the first level of thinking, which is I want to lose 10 pounds. And we never go deeper than that. And if we go a little bit deeper, then maybe we'd be able to find a little bit more of like a proper path through fitness and nutrition and health that would lead us like down the good road versus, oh, well, let me just try another crash diet, new year, new me, 15 pounds down in a month and then 15 pounds back up the next month. So maybe it's like that deeper digging. Was that something that you like consciously were chasing, or did you just realize this over years and years?
I actually had the greatest fear of seeing the scale go above a particular number, and that kept me from doing all that I can do. I remember when I first hired my coach, he said, Luke Lehman, he said, stop focusing on dumb shit. Because as soon as he finally brought my carbs up, he's like, you need to increase your carbs to 350. He actually said I was on like 150. And I'm like, okay, I'll meet you halfway there. I'll just go up to 200 for now. He's like, nah, 350. Luke, he's like that hard Michelin, like, nah, you're doing this. So I brought them up to 200 slowly, brought them up to 250. And then obviously he saw that they were around 250. And then the following week I'm complaining about the scale going up, about me feeling bloated and this and that. And he's just like, stop focusing on dumb shit. And that just became a cycle for a little bit. And the next thing I know is that it just wasn't an issue anymore. I was like, when can I have more carbs? Tell me when I can have more carbs. I don't even know what sparked it, but it was just that focus on, I should say, the lack of focus, that I wasn't now giving that the air space that it needed, that now it's just, no, I'm focusing on hitting these numbers. I'm logging my weights. And I think that's a huge thing that a lot of women miss out on. They're not really putting that energy and focus into the performance metrics. How does the lift feel? Writing your numbers down, filming yourself, seeing how things move, working on improving your movements there. Like I have a client as an example. She was down the same route just from her being really obsessed with improving her movements, asking how she could improve. What's wrong with this? What's wrong with that? Like things in that direction. Everything else kind of fell off the wayside. And when you wake up, step on the scales and let that dictate your day, or let that influence how you feel about yourself, you already are putting a handbrake on the rest of the day.
I've always thought of it as like when you can focus on the performance aspect of things, numbers in the gym and, running or whatever performance thing you want, that's like a positive input rather than a negative input of trying to like lose weight, lose size, lose shape, lose whatever. And then there's this, the negative and positive. As a podcaster, I believe like the words and the ways that we, the words that we use to speak and to talk about ourselves really matter a ton. And so when we speak in negative frames about ourselves, it impacts us a lot versus in speaking in positive frames of I'm getting stronger, I'm lifting heavier, I'm lifting more, I'm running faster, I'm, more flexible. Like this is a positive framing. And so it's easier to ride that positive momentum wave rather than this negative wave, although it's harder to get into that. So then I guess the next thing that I'm thinking about here for you is, do you think you would have figured that out on your own without a coach? And if so, like how difficult would that have been? Because it sounds nice and easy when we say it, but like it's obviously not that simple, otherwise everyone would do it.
I actually already knew all of that. But just because you know something doesn't mean you're going to put yourself into it. And I think a lot of people already know what is holding them back. Like, if you gave yourself the actual space to reflect, you know what is holding you back. How does Harry Potter say it? History repeating itself. That's just like our realities. It's history continuing to repeat itself because we haven't broken that cycle. You're not stuck. You're choosing to stay there. I was choosing to stay there because of my fear of what happens if I eat more food. And this comes down to that diet fatigue that I was mentioning before you hit record. And I think that's the biggest issue. We are so fatigued from it all. It's like, how can you expect yourself to give your best efforts, to do what is needed of you, if that has been your whole life of restriction? You've never given yourself a chance to thrive outside of that, which is where you bring in the mindset piece. None of the physical stuff is going to be permanent if the mindset isn't there. You're not only going to fail at giving your best effort, but how are you going to endure the process? Enduring the process is the hardest part, because the winner of the game is the person that can stay in it the longest. That's all it is. And most people don't stay in the game the longest because they get impatient. They want to hit more scores. And it's kind of like, where is your optimal batting average? Hit there more often and you will win the game. Because most people want to just strike it out and win the shot. And that's usually where people fall short. And then the person that was the patient one wins the game. And then bringing it back to the performance metrics, people get lost because they don't know what else to focus on. That's why it's the 10 pounds. They don't know where else to look. That's what we've been taught. Everything is marketed around weight loss. We've put ourselves into different social environments online. Like, your online environment is what you speak of most and want most. Look at your explore feed. Jordan Sayat. He freaking loves dogs and BJJ. His whole freaking explore feed is that. Someone who wants weight loss is going to see bullshit on their explore feed. Us, we're going to be seeing people lifting heavy ass shit and whatever else we see, because that's what we want to see. So you will get what you want to see. Kind of like the words you speak. The way you speak of yourself is the way it's going to turn out.
I love this conversation because it opens up something that I think that we all kind of know but don't want to admit, and is an important thing to just like, you know, open people's eyes to. And it's the way that like the economics of these things impact what happens. And so we just had like Black Friday. Is Black Friday like a thing in Australia? I'm sure it is, because it's just.
It is now, because it came from your country.
Yeah. And not even us, like even Canadian, like we had Thanksgiving a month ago, but like we just like tag on to Black Friday sales from American Thanksgiving, which is at a different time. But anyways, there was tons of marketing, right? Fat loss this, you know, supplement that, you know, lose 10 pounds here, like all this stuff. And when you understand that, like, that is the way that people make money, it's really easy to sell someone something that says, do this easy thing and get this fantastic result. That is like, that's just money in the bank. What's not easy is to say, hey, take a long time to work really hard to get a result that's like pretty good, but you know, you're not going to be on the Olympia stage. That doesn't sell so well. And so when you think about people trying to, you know, make money, they're going to lean into those other things because that's what that makes them more money. And that's what you'll see more. It's more attractive. It's just more, what's the word? Attractive, I guess. It's more attractive to see that, and keep clicking on those things. And that's what it feeds you. And so when you understand that that's the way that, or that's the reason why these things are said, you can understand how to see them and then kind of like ignore it. Or put it to the side or push it down and look past the facade to see, hey, what's actually going on here? Is this really true? If this were true, why doesn't everyone just do this? That's the filter that I look through all this stuff. Like, I'm sure you get a lot of like business coaching ads and stuff because we're in the internet world, and it's like, make X amount of money in 3 months. Like, man, if it was that easy, well, like, why wouldn't everyone just be a millionaire? Like, it's obviously not that simple or straightforward. And the same thing is with fat loss. And so when we understand, like, hey, this is the economics of it, this is what drives it, then it's easy to pull back the curtain and be like, okay, now I can understand what's actually happening here and maybe take a different approach to it, maybe look a little bit of a layer deeper and say, hey, there's probably a better way. Because if it was this easy, like, everyone would just be doing this, right?
Literally everyone, no one would be struggling right now. And I think a lot of people don't pause to realize that very fact. Like, look around you. Most people are struggling with the same thing. Why are so many people stuck in the diet cycle? And I say, like, this is something I see a lot in Facebook groups. There are two things that I see in Facebook groups. One of them is people like, oh, but you can build muscle in a deficit, and they're keeping themselves, like, most women won't be able to do that because they're not doing things consistently enough. It's just like, get into a deficit, lose the fat you need to lose, then get the hell out. Because unless you are someone who is doing this as a job, you're not giving it the effort for the results that you want from there. And that is why you're so annoyed at looking the same all the time. And what are most women frustrated with? Impatience. They're not giving it the time that it needs. What is going to frustrate you more? Trying to do both at the same time because you're going to look at paint drying? Like, nothing changes in that space of time if you're trying to do both at the same time. It's just like, no, but this is the thing. If that was the answer, why do you look the way that you look right now? Like, I don't want to say it that way, but it's the reality. Like, why are you feeling the way you're feeling right now if you've been trying to do that the whole time? And then there's the misconception. Oh, but I lost fat and built muscle at the same time because someone lost fat and they looked like they built muscle. No, you didn't. You lost fat. You revealed the muscle you built. You didn't do both at the same time. So people are so confused at what the process actually takes. And the other thing I see in Facebook groups, which alludes back to what you said, people post shredded photos, comp prep photos, before and afters that are drastic. Guess what you see? 1 point something K likes and in the hundreds of comments. Someone posts a plain old lifting photo or something that isn't that drastic. Birds are chirping. Like that is the issue. We are fed by alluring looks and things things don't mean, like, this doesn't mean you can't get to those results. It's just the one thing that you are missing is that time element. You can try to squish it as much as you want, but that's just gonna lead to the lifestyle on the other side, either rebounding or you're going to be miserable trying to maintain that. And you might not even get there because the steps you need to take to get there aren't something that fits in your lifestyle, and you're going to be miserable. And then that leads back into the diet fatigue, where I knew what I needed to do. Of course I did. But why didn't I do it? Because I was struggling, because I was also a powerlifter and I competed in the under 56s. And it was literally critical for me to make sure I make that weight class, because I was going for records. And if I didn't make that weight class, the pressure was on. And every single time I went into another comp, it got harder and harder for me to lose that weight. And yes, it had to be scale focused because I had a weight class. And because I struggled so much to the point where when I did my international comp, I had to do a water cut. That was the most drastic one I ever did. There was that fear, but my body doesn't lose fat. I've already struggled so much. And then there was the diet fatigue. It's like, I can't imagine going back into another diet. What if I gain too much fat? What if I go overboard? What if I can't control my food? Like, if people don't already feel in control of their actions and they feel so out of control of their results, it's harder for them to trust the process that could possibly make things worse because they already feel out of control. But it's that very thing that's keeping you stuck. Like, imagine this. Imagine if you've been thriving on carbs, on food, feeling strong, lifting the weights. You're able to stick to your intentions, because that's literally what people miss. They don't have that confidence resume there where I did the things. I know that I show up. I know that I work hard. I have all the proof that I do what I said I'm going to do, and I can do it and get the results from it. They don't have that. So what happens instead? It's like, you're not giving yourself the proof to get there. You need to be able to just thrive in this position, to build that confidence, to feel in control of your results again, because you've built the habits. And this is why not focusing on fat loss is the thing. It's like, build the habits. Focus on the habits will get you there. If you're doing the basic things that you need to do over an extended period of time, the results are going to come. If in whatever month, year's time, you don't see the results, it's not because of your lack of effort and your lack of doing what was on paper. Is there anything that we've been missing from this equation that you haven't been putting onto paper? And that's where the mindset comes in. It's just like, sometimes people log their food, you know this. They log 1,200 calories, 1,400 calories, but then they're not mentioning the emotional binges. So it's like, once all this stuff is in check, then imagine how much easier it is going to be to get into a fat loss phase. Because I didn't just get from where I was to where I physically am now. I gained a lot, and I went through my own fat loss phase, because fat loss isn't a bad thing. But from struggling and pushing and restricting and adding in finishes and adding in a 7th day of training because I was kind of a lunatic and not even doing what I tell people to do. Like, I was just, it was crazy. To go from that to losing weight / fat ahead of the time that Luke scheduled for me, it was like, what the hell was happening? I'm just leaning out. The scale is going down. Luke is still going down. What the hell is this? Like, it was that much easier because I gave myself not 4 months, not even a year. I gave myself 3 years. But 3 years is so much for so many people, especially as you get older. It feels like you have even less time. If you have even less time, then that is exactly why you should be giving yourself more time.
I think it's so important that you mentioned that it did take you 3 years, because people don't have a proper timeline on things in their head. Again, they see a transformation photo of 30 days or 90 days and this person lost, like 30 kilos. Like, okay, sure, it's possible, but that's not first of all, you don't see what happens another 90 days after that. And you don't know what actually went into that. So you got to take all that stuff with a grain of salt and expand the time horizon, because this is a forever game. But knowing that it takes long is like, okay, we can actually slow down and do things right. And then the next step is that your results shouldn't really be a surprise. Like, I bet during your transformation through all that, like, it wasn't a surprise to Luke. It's amazing to you experiencing and like, oh my God, I can't believe it's working, because I've tried so many other nonsense things that like didn't work and all this stuff. But like, it probably wasn't a surprise to him. And I'm sure for your clients, Ruby, when they're going through this transformation, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this is working. You're like, yeah, I can believe it's working, because like, you're following the plan and the plan works. Like, this is not a magic trick, and it's not an accident. This is kind of just like science and experience, and this is just the way that it goes. And in some senses, I think that it makes it almost hard to connect with a lot of people sometimes, where it's like, hey, I'm a fitness coach, like, this is my job. Dialing in my nutrition for a little bit, or getting to the gym every day is not necessarily difficult for me, because this is my job again, and I enjoy it, and it's like one of the best parts of my day, and like, and all this stuff. But other people, it's not the best part of their day. So they're like, oh, it seems so easy for you. Everything seems easy when it's your profession, and when you've been doing it for so many years, right? So it's okay that things are hard for you, and you are capable of doing difficult things, and it's okay that you struggle through it. But you got to give yourself enough time to struggle through it, and you will get where you're going.
I think that's probably one of the biggest realizations that once people make, they will stop sabotaging themselves. They expect it to be easy, because tell me on Instagram, how many posts do you see that are up of people struggling? Do you see people putting up photos of looking like a Bambi trying to manage their Bulgarian split squats, or someone half-ass squatting a squat, or someone looking like a complete novice, almost breaking their back on a deadlift while they're trying to learn it? It's like, this stuff takes time to learn. And the biggest piece is that you will fall back into old patterns. You will struggle. You will fall back into the same cycle. But it's not about shooting yourself with the second arrow again. It's about making better mistakes by learning from them, number one. But number two, it's minimizing the time you spend in that ditch. Because the longer you spend in that ditch, the more time you're going to ruminate, and the worse the outcomes are going to be, versus, okay, what happened? Trace the steps back so you don't make the same mistake again. And it literally just highlights more about you. You learn more about yourself, because once you can start to like shave off the dust here, you start to raise your floor. And then every time you do fall, you fall to a higher level. And then over time, your batting averages are in that consistency. And that goes back to the whole, this is when you win the game, because you're not shooting all the crazy shots. Like, when you know you can go for it and you have 100% faith in it, go for it. But otherwise, you're just going to be burning yourself out. And you cannot give anything your best efforts when you're burnt out.
I absolutely love this concept. And I think it's actually one of the biggest markers of like a quote unquote fit person, where it's like your bad days are not nearly as bad as a quote unquote unfit person. And I don't mean to use the word bad in like just roll with me on the word bad here. But it's like, it's one thing to have a bit of a cheat meal or a treat meal, whatever you want to call it, and you had a couple pieces of pizza, maybe a couple drinks, whatever. That's very different than a week long of eating McDonald's and pizza and burgers and drinking and like going on this week long like crazy binge. So when you can make your quote unquote bad days like a little bit less bad, you're doing like less damage. Again, I'm using a lot of like air quotes here, but less damage to yourself and to your fitness and to whatever, to your health. And that is going to pay massive dividends in the long run. But it's tough to get to that level where the slip ups are not that bad. But when you realize that you can like raise your floor a little bit, that is extremely powerful. One other thing that you were mentioning there is about thinking about when it's time to like push really hard versus I think when it's time to kind of coast. And so coming into the holiday season, I think people get a lot of anxiety around, oh my gosh, I'm going to gain weight over Christmas and the holidays and family visits and work events and all this stuff because there's going to be so much good food around there. And like, how can I lose weight through this? It's like, well, the answer is probably that like now is probably not the best time for the most part to be like trying to do that, because you're just in an environment where you're making it way harder for yourself. And it's okay to just like practice some maintenance here. Maybe that's a good thing. And this is a time to coast. And then you can like dial it in and kind of like ramp things up and push really hard after. And so there's going to be phases of like when you can push hard and when you have to coast. But trying to recognize those things is quite difficult, right?
Yeah.
Are you following me?
Yeah, exactly. And I want to add to that one as well.
Yes.
But
So
I was just going to say that adds to the diet fatigue, because the more you try to force through a situation that isn't built for this, it's not adding 1 point into the diet fatigue basket. You're adding 2 or 3 for every one that would usually go in there.
Right. This lag is killing us, by the way, guys. So just bear with the interruptions in our conversation here. One thing I did want to circle back to though, Ruby, and you mentioned it before, to get really tactical, is talking about the people who are like, you can lose weight and build muscle at the same time versus like just start a cut. Can you go into that a little bit more and try and like, where would you take someone who's like, hey, I've been on the roller coaster up and down. I've tried a few diets over, the whole year, and I'm kind of just like doing nothing right now. And I want to just like be at this like maintenance level where I want to lose fat, I want to build muscle because I'm scared of like going into another deficit. Like, talk about where you'd take that person and how you'd think about that.
It's hard to find someone who's scared to go into another deficit. Mentally they will be, but what they're saying is different. They want to lose the fat, but mentally they're resisting it. That's the resistance that comes with the diet fatigue. And all these signs of self-sabotage are symptoms. They're not the causes. They're symptoms. The causes are the fact that you're not attending to your basic needs of, I want to actually feel good. I don't feel good right now. Like, the basic, I think it's like a psychological principle. It's like self-sabotage isn't an issue. It's a symptom of not meeting your core needs. And a core need is for you to actually feel good. If you're not feeling good, that's an emergency signal to your brain and to your body. So from there, it would be, okay, let's get you feeling good. Let's focus on these maintenance habits. If someone has a lot of fat to lose, it's not about not going into a fat loss phase. It's about focusing on maintenance habits. Those maintenance habits are of the person you want to be. So that very well could entail you losing fat. It's just that fat loss isn't going to be the focus. Let's stop focusing on fat loss, because the moment that fat loss comes into it, your brain goes into that emergency mode. Restriction, eat less, do more. Whereas if you're just focusing on enhancing your performance, everything we spoke about before, and letting your habits dictate where your body fat goes in terms of, okay, where are your calories? Where's your food? Track your calories, track your protein. If you need to track carbs because you want to optimize performance and you want to make sure that you're having enough around your training, do that. I like having a higher carb, lower fat ratio, because I feel like people just get way better results that way. They have more energy, they feel better, and they feel fuller because you get more volume with carbs. I find most people thrive that way. It's just choosing, quote unquote, the right carbs. And by that, I mean carbs that don't trigger you to crave more food. And then this is where the anti-dieting really pisses me off. It's just like, don't keep foods out of, like, if you keep foods out of your house, that's obsessive. Well, it's like, if it's going to trigger cravings and it's not something that serves you right now, you're probably better off just like having a temporary break for it for a while and then bringing it back in, and you'll probably realize you don't want it. But there again is the thing. You don't know how good you can feel until you feel good. So that's usually where I take people. It's, let's build these maintenance habits, get you feeling good. Where do you usually fall off? Where's the self-sabotage? Understanding where their weak links are, what can be improved within their daily habits. Is it that you overeat on the weekends? Why haven't you got the fat loss results yet? Let's just shift you to focusing on performance. Here's a training plan. I want to see your training videos. I want to see you putting notes into your training, focusing on all of this stuff. Then when it's time, I eventually start getting people talking about some of their eating habits. Maybe they've been emotionally eating, and that's something I didn't know about before. Like, all these things then start to come out, but not from a judgment perspective and not from a I need to jump into a fat loss perspective. It's more like zoomed out. And then there are other clients that actually start seeing the changes they want to see, because now they're eating more food. And by more food, I mean the volume food. They're eating more constantly through the day. So then they're not binging at nighttime. They're finally sticking to the calorie allotment, because they haven't been trying to undershoot their calories for so long that now they're on the other end. And it just becomes a more empowering process. So it's just trying to ride that wagon for long enough and building up as much training capacity as you can, because I feel like when people can lift heavier weight and do more volume within their workouts. And by that, I don't mean like junk volume and stuff. I mean like a proper workout, but the volume of that increases over time because you're able to lift more for more reps. And I don't mean just adding in like 15, 20 reps. I mean like the same program, just more. That gives you so much more potential to not only keep muscle once you're in a fat loss phase, but to get leaner and stay leaner, because not like muscle doesn't burn that much more than fat is like the new thing that's coming out. It's like, well, actually it does, because muscle is like, like I hate it when it's coming on the other end now where it's just like, but it doesn't really burn all that much more. It's like, it actually does, because what does muscle do that fat can't? It can lift all of that weight. So now you're burning more in the gym than you usually burn. Even though we don't burn calories when we're lifting, it's still a thing. If you do any form of cardio, you're going to be moving more muscle around. The muscle is going to be more active. The muscle has higher insulin sensitivity. You can handle more carbs, meaning you're not going to have energy slumps through the day, meaning you're going to be moving more through the day. Like, muscle gives you so much more, which is where that metabolism comes from. And a fit person versus a sedentary person, someone who cares about building muscle and maintaining muscle, they have two entirely different habits. So it's not the muscle itself, it's what that muscle brings you. So that's usually the focus that I try to direct people to, so that this other stuff can come along. And then it's like, well, look at that. Your body composition's improved. Is losing fat something you want to do? And then we can go from there. And then you'll find sometimes people want to lose fat, but then they're like, I don't want to cut my calories now. I love the fact that I've been able to just like, they know how good they can feel. So then they actually realize how freaking hard fat loss is. Like, the amount of times I have clients say to me, this is freaking hard. This is the thing. Maintenance is the easiest thing in the world. Fat loss is not. People got it skewed. They don't know how to maintain. Everyone can lose weight and fat over and over again. This is missing.
Everyone's been on a diet at some point and lost weight, and then probably a lot of people have regained that weight. So the problem is not like we don't know how to lose weight. Anyone could crash diet and like cut out your carbs and not eat for a few days. Like, anyone can do that, and like it will reliably produce weight loss. But then it doesn't keep the weight off, and that's where we really struggle. So I'm 100% with you that maintenance is much harder, or like it's harder and easier, because that's actually opposite to what you were saying. But it's more important, anyways, that it's harder to actually lose the weight sustainably rather than actually just maintaining your weight. Because once you develop all those habits, it actually becomes like quite easy to like, hey, we can just keep up here, and it's all going to be fine, right?
You won't have to keep losing the weight if you learn how to actually thrive outside of having a diet attached. And that makes maintenance easier because you've learned to thrive. Most people don't. They see it as a prison.
Interesting. Seeing it as a prison is like, yeah, I mean, the goal of weight loss is to eventually end that. You can't be losing weight for forever. You want to lose weight, and then you're done with the weight loss part, and then you're just like living your life. And maybe you will go up and down a couple pounds, and as the whatever, but you're not staying at the exact same weight for the rest of your life, but you stop losing weight. You go on a weight loss journey once, you get down to like the range that you want to be in, and then it's over. Like, it's not supposed to last for forever. And I think this is another part of the whole like diet culture and the two sides of it, where it's like, this is not the rest of your life. This is not a life sentence that you're going to be in a calorie deficit and never eat this low calories or never do this. Like, well, you can do it just for a short time, and then you're done with it, and then you move on with your life. And that's the way it's supposed to go. The dichotomy of these things is always getting us. The answer is always somewhere in the middle. Again, it's just like, that's just not that cool to say, and it like just doesn't sell as well, and sell in terms of money, and sell in terms of attention in news articles and social media and headlines and all that stuff. It always comes back to that. And the more I think about this and the more I talk about it, like, the more I realize, like, it always comes back to the attention economy and the actual financial economy of how are these messages portrayed, which sucks. And it's really unfortunate because it hurts a lot of people.
And they're usually portrayed from our own experiences and lenses, which, if you've been through the extremes before, since when does someone go straight to the middle? They usually go to the other extreme. And I have a couple of examples, clients that have done the same thing. They've been so down from the diet culture realm that they fell into their healthy at every size realm. And then they went into the bad side of that, and they ended up in a worse place. And most of the people with these anti-diet messages and these like from up here on the other side of the spectrum have probably just rebounded from the other end, and they're seeing it without the context. They've completely separated the fact that, no, it's bad to want to change your body because here's what it did to me. I'm the victim, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, it didn't do that to you. Your approach to whatever it was is what got you there. Like being healthy and fit and looking after your body fat percentage, which another one, we don't even know what healthy body fat percentage is anymore. Like you see someone who's shredded and that is your ideal of that's healthy. It's like, no, that isn't healthy. But then again, it looks different on different people. And someone can look so much leaner if they put the time into building the muscle, because then that body percentage and even the scale weight looks completely different on them than it would on someone else who didn't give it that time. There are so many different things that we don't understand about the people in front of our eyes. And we don't even, well, we do. They don't. They don't understand the process behind these things. They think, when I first started, like, you tell me, where is the logic in telling me that that lean person in that magazine, or it was a magazine then, Instagram we'll say now, lean person on Instagram ate more carbs, built more muscle, and wasn't dieting on zero carb, all this hit and everything. Like she's leaner than me. I have more body fat. How is that possible? Like, tell me how that's possible. So that's what I thought I needed. So that's what I did. And that's what I kept doing. And I didn't see results. What was the answer? I must need to have another training day, do more reps, do more sets, maybe a couple of drop sets, maybe some finishes, maybe add in some more exercises. Before I knew it, it was a 2-hour gym session. It's what we think it takes to get there isn't actually it. And then that's what frightens us, because it's like, well, I want to get this over and done with because there's no way I can keep doing that forever. So let's just get this over and done with, and then I can sustain it then. How do you expect to sustain it? Like, you don't just put it on hold. Like, life happens. And like, that is why you can't just put things on hold and think that everything just falls to your feet. Life is still going on.
Hard work is like definitely part of the whole equation. And no one is saying that any of this fitness transformation, any of these things would ever be easy. And you do need to work hard. But the thing that is missing from that is like, you also need to work on hard at something that is actually going to help you and that makes sense. If you're just banging your head against the wall, like, oh, I'll just add another training day. Oh, I'll just cut my carbs even lower. I'll just like whatever, like all these things, that's great. And that you're like, you have that muscle of like hard work and resilience and maybe a little bit of consistency. Like you've got some of the pieces in place, but you're just working hard at the wrong thing. And that's not necessarily like your fault or anyone's fault. It's just, you don't know what you don't know. The same way I don't know things about the law or accounting or whatever, aerospace engineering. Like I just don't know what I don't know. And so if you don't know what you should be doing, but you're working really hard at it, or you feel like you're working really hard at it, this is where you have to open up your eyes and really give your head a shake and be like, hey, maybe what I'm doing is just the wrong things. Maybe there is another way to do it, because working hard is half the battle, but you got to also like be smart about this. And there are obviously plenty of resources out there, but finding the thing that is going to work for you is another gigantic piece of this. So if you feel like you're working really hard, like that's great. And, kudos to you. Good job on that. But you got to put your efforts in the right places. And that's a hard thing to find as well.
I was going to say, you can put all the effort you want into climbing up the ladder, but it's kind of too late if you get to the top and realize it's been up against the wrong wall the whole time. And also, if the ladder that you're trying to climb has big rungs, well, the bigger you climb, the greater you're going to fall. So it's why it really matters. Like I was talking to someone the other day, and I remember the conversation I had with her like 2 years ago, because she's the one that told me, yes, I'm this silly. I didn't know that the white stuff in between bricks is called mortar. Go figure, it's called brick and mortar businesses. But anyway, I'm like, you can stack the bricks, but if you don't attend to the mortar, things are going to fall through the cracks. And that mortar is the stuff that keeps you going. Just because you're now seeing some progress along the line doesn't mean you stop attending to the mortar. Even though it's like the thing that isn't as big as just stacking the bricks, you don't just keep stacking the bricks. You still need to fit in the mortar. Otherwise, it's going to collapse and fall. And as soon as it collapses and falls to where the mortar is, then it starts to degrade a little, because now you can't keep building the bricks because you're spending all your time self-sabotaging over the fact that you just lost half your building. So that's the way that I like to describe that. And then you mentioned this with the marketing as well. Think about cardio. most people demonize, like we all know that whole like cardio thing that used to exist back then. If it wasn't for Luke, I wouldn't have realized the power of cardio and realize the power of cardio with a lot of obese clients and clients starting out, where cardio is probably one of the most beneficial things for them because that will help them burn fat better, burn carbs better, and do the training for long enough without that injury. Because like cardio is a really beneficial thing for the right person. Like this is the different people with different things. Like you can be working hard in the right direction, but it's not your right direction, it's her right direction, because it all makes sense and it's probably a perfect process, but it's not your perfect process. And a process can't be perfect if it can't then be adapted to where you then move along the spectrum, because things are never constant. Like it's always moving. As you progress, things move. And if that's the other mistake people make. They don't allow their goals to evolve with them, or their concept of things to evolve with them. It's like they don't revisit things enough. So then they're still focusing on here while they're over here. And then they don't realize until sabotage hits that they've been moving in a completely different direction than what they wanted to be moving in, ideally, without realizing that that is the direction they wanted the whole time. Aren't you feeling better now? Aren't you actually confident now? Aren't you lifting more now? It's like, oh, now that you mention it, here I am. So where are these thoughts coming from? You know what? I don't actually know. It's like you need to allow yourself to recalibrate with that. And you mentioned something on the whole, this stuff is hard. Yes, it's hard. And it's still hard for us because things don't just get easier, because we're always trying to improve ourselves, because life just gets boring if you're not trying to do something better in some way. And this is where mind management, we have better mind management skills than most people because we've built those mind management skills. Like when it's minus 40 degrees in Canada, you probably don't want to leave the house to go to the gym. And the same is here, even though our degrees doesn't really go below 0, but which is completely different for you Fahrenheit people. But it's like we still go through the same bouts of I don't want to do this. The bigger your goal, the more extreme the protocol, the harder it is for you to show up to the thing. I want to get a particular time in my half marathon next year. So my sprinting days are brutal. I never want to show up to my sprinting days, ever. But I need to make myself show up to those things. And the reason I bring that up is because this other stuff is natural to me now. I've been doing it for long enough. This, no. Which is the same as you going through your habits with your fat loss journey. That's why I like sometimes putting myself into things that I kind of resist and I know I'm going to find really hard, because then it's like, I'm relating to this. I really do not want to go to this session. But I know that if I do not give my best, I'm going to beat up on myself because I knew I could have given more and I let myself take the easy way out. And this is where we get hard on ourselves. But that's when most women pick apart their bodies. Your body isn't the issue. The fact that you didn't follow through on your word is the issue, and you're taking it out on your body. The fact that you knew that you could do these habits that you wanted to do, you're not acting in line with the person that you want to be, or you sabotaged yourself, or you drank a bottle of wine to cope with your emotions, or you ate a friggin' donut at work when it was literally just you having a little cry. Like there's nothing wrong with the donut, but it was an emotional eat. It wasn't something that was mindful and planned and thought out. So what do? We beat ourselves up for it. We blame our bodies. We get hard on our bodies. Your body isn't the issue. Your habits are. You not showing up to your word is. You're not getting clear on your process is. Your process doesn't involve fat loss 24/7. So you need to zoom out and figure out what that process is and when you are ready to sprint. The biggest issue people have is they don't know when to sprint and when to recover, and for how long to do either of those.
That was huge. Everyone should hit the rewind button a few times and re-listen to that piece, because that was super powerful. I mean, I literally have nothing to add to it because that was like just so phenomenal. And I think really seriously, everyone needs to re-listen to that. Related to something you were speaking about before, and I want to kind of start to end on this piece. I know that we both, like before we hit record, we were talking about how like sometimes it gets really repetitive to talk about the same things over and over again, but there's also like a need for it. And so as we're talking about the process and you know, starting to build muscle and focus on performance and these things, this is not a question that I personally have, but I can hear it coming from the audience. Well, I don't want to build too much muscle because I don't want to get bulky and I don't want to get all huge and whatever. What is your response to that?
I've been trying to do those very things for 7 years, but I can say that and it still doesn't mean anything to you guys. And I know that because people could say that and people have been saying that, yet people are still scared of it. But I would say I understand it a lot because there are two things that can make it feel like you're getting bigger. And that is the fact that you still are holding an uncomfortable amount of body fat, number one. And when you start training hard, your muscles expand. And it feels like, oh my God, I'm getting bulky. And if you train even harder, you'll feel even bigger. How does that work? You're not growing muscle that fast. Muscle is a sponge. And if then you're trying to embrace the fact of eating more, then your muscle's going to hold a little bit more carbs, a little bit more glycogen because it is fuller and hydrated, is the process you need to get lean. And building muscle is the hardest part. It's the slowest part. Fat loss on paper is relatively fast and relatively easy, but the habits are the different story. Fat loss is hard habit-wise. On paper, that's the simple thing. So if you can put all you can into building muscle, it'll be that much easier for you to lose the fat and to get lean because muscle is the thing that shapes you. You can lose fat all you want. You can lose weight all that you want, but you will never see hard and defined without building muscle. And it's why I need to go back to posting photos of my hamstrings over and over again because that's the issue most women have. Oh, how do I get rid of this cottage cheese on the back of my legs? It's like, number one, it's a muscle thing. Like most women don't train their hamstrings near enough. It's glutes and most women can't hinge properly. So they're not training their hamstrings adequately enough to get the muscle definition and hardness they want there, which is why it's the biggest trouble spot. And that is why I bring up hamstrings the most because it's the most glaring issue. But then again, you also have that body fat to muscle ratio. It's just that you can't just keep focusing on the lose body fat. You need to build the muscle because you can keep losing that body fat, but you can stay small on a tiny little metabolic engine, eating tiny little fuel bits because you're a tiny car now, or you can build a big, robust engine, fuel yourself, build more muscle, not look like a bulky Hulk because I don't think I'm a bulky Hulk. And I would say that I've been trying to build bulky Hulk muscles for the majority of my life. But I might have a little bit more muscle than most people do want. But that's the thing, like I've been fueling for it and I'm eating an excessive amount of calories for it. The thing that people need to just look at is where is your food intake? Where has your history been? What are you doing now to move forward? If you keep doing what you're doing now to move forward, what will that look like in 3 years' time? If you are allowing yourself to step out of diet mode and eat enough food, in maintenance, you are not going to be gaining excess body fat. The scale might go up, but that isn't body fat. Maintenance calories doesn't mean maintenance scale weight. It means maintenance fat percentage. Well, not fat percentage, maintenance fat grams. It can fluctuate a little bit because we're losing and gaining fat every single day. It just fluctuates. It's the net over time that equals the end result. However, if you are training to build the most strength and muscle possible, the end result is going to be a leaner you, regardless. Because if your fat has only increased a little bit, which if you're going to gain muscle, you're going to gain some fat regardless. If you're trying to gain muscle and you're putting yourself into a little bit of a surplus and eating a little bit more food, you are going to gain some muscle. The goal isn't to stop that. And the goal isn't to try to stay as lean as possible because that's going to stop you getting lean. It depends on where your starting point is. The goal of all of this is to minimize how much fat you gain in the period of time that you build as much muscle as you can. Because then when you go into a fat loss phase, if you can maintain all that muscle that you built and lose fat over 8, 12, 16, 24 weeks with diet breaks if needed, you will come out the other end looking completely different with the body composition that you always wanted with hardly any dieting.
Agreed. Mic drop. I think that we all know people who have lost a significant amount of body fat. By we, I mean maybe trainers, have lost a significant amount of body fat, but they still don't like the way they look and they're still not happy, even though they're kind of lean. But it's like their body still has no shape. They don't have there's curves or no curves. There's just no shape to it. And so like the muscle is what gives your body shape, and then losing fat just reveals it. And that's kind of the way that we want to get to. We want to actually give our body some shape and some performance, because that's when the muscle is going to drive the performance. And that's really the biggest thing. And that translates into all of the other things, the amazing things that you were talking about right at the very beginning of the episode, where it's like all of these non-aesthetic things that just make your life so much better. And that's what the fitness and all this stuff is about. It's like, yes, it's cool to like be strong and jacked and lean and like all that stuff. It's awesome. But it's like the not even the top 5 like cool things that fitness will do for your life. So we got to get to that place, and it comes by building muscle and improving our performance. Ruby, this has been super good. I think that I don't know if anyone else can notice this, because we'll have to see how it comes out on the other end. This lag internet issue is absolutely killing us. So thank you very much for like putting up with this. I apologize to anyone if this is strange to listen to, but I definitely have to use a different platform because this thing is obviously not. Having said all that, I need to get off my chest. Ruby, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about, or anything else that you think that we missed or was relevant to today's discussion?
Just stop trying to sprint for 2 hours straight. I really enjoyed this conversation. It was really good, and I hope people take it home, because there's nothing wrong with wanting to look your best and feel your best and get lean. It's just, you're already working hard. Daniel said it himself. You're working hard. Just put it in the right direction, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to make, and a good place to end off with. Where can people find you? What's your contact info? Where can people get in touch with everything that you've got going on?
So my Instagram is transformxruby, and you can pretty much find me anywhere with transformxruby. And my podcast is 100% Real with Ruby. But otherwise, there's Daniel, and he puts up great things as well. I put up great things. We're just here to try to make the world a better place, and that's all I have to say and plug. That
is very true. So thank you very much, Ruby. I will put your contact info in the show notes. Thank you again very much for putting up with the technical difficulties of this. This thing is unbelievably annoying, but we got some good information out there for people, to help people. So make sure that you're subscribed to Ruby's podcast, following her on social media as well, and sharing this episode with someone who you know it will help, because I know that you know at least one person will help. So thank you very much, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you. Go outside, be a good person. See you next time.